Hello and welcome to the first of our Monday race wrap-ups, conveniently coming after a very busy week of racing. And of course, we're going to start with the Queen of the Classics, the Hell of the North, Paris-Roubaix. The 112th edition took place on Sunday. Fabian Cancellara started as the outstanding favourite and was looking to add a record-equalling fourth victory to his palmares. Often referred to as the start of the race proper, the Arenberg Forest came at 95 k's to go, but perhaps didn't see quite the selection that we might have been expecting. It did, however, spell the end of the aspirations for Alexander Kristoff with an untimely puncture for one of the pre-race favourites. Crashes, as ever, were a common theme as riders fought for position ahead of the cobbled sectors. The four-time winner of this race, Tom Boonen, was the first of the really big favourites to make his move. Quickly bridging across to a strong counter-attack containing Geraint Thomas and Thor Hushovd, he soon became frustrated at what he obviously thought was a lack of commitment by his breakaway companions. With 35 k's to go, Peter Sagan of Cannondale sprang out of what remained of the peloton, taking Martin Weinz of Belkin with him. However, by the time the duo bridged to the six up front, the group behind had all but closed the gap. It didn't take long for Sagan to make his next move though, soloing off the front as the other favourites looked at each other behind. It took a brutal acceleration by Sepp van Mark of Belkin to begin closing the gap, the Belgian taking Cancellara, Degenkolb and Stybar with him. Over the last five-star section of cobbles, the Carrefour de l'Arbre, the front five riders came together and for a while it looked like the winner might come from this group. However, a concerted chase by the Omega Pharma Quick-Step duo of Boonen and Niki Terpstra, along with Team Sky's Bradley Wiggins and Geraint Thomas, meant that with 11 k's to go, we had a group of 11 in front. Bart de Backer of Giant Shimano did his best to keep the group together, hoping of course that teammate Degenkolb could win from a sprint. But when Niki Terpstra attacked with 7 k's to go, there was a delayed reaction behind and he soon opened a sizable gap. That gap quickly grew to 20 seconds and, unfortunately for those behind him, the top step of the podium was as good as decided. Terpstra had time to soak it all in when he entered the famous outdoor Roubaix velodrome, raising both arms aloft as he became the first Dutch victor in 13 years, single-handedly saving Omega Pharma Quick-Step's cobbled classic season. Behind, Degenkolb finished a frustrating second, with the ever-consistent Fabian Cancellara in third place. Paris-Roubaix marked the last of the 2014 cobbled classics, with the teams now preparing themselves for the Hillier Ardennes races, which start on Sunday with Amstel Gold. The Vuelta Ciclista al País Vasco took place last week, in the Basque Country of all places. The latest in the World Tour stage races saw an in-form Alejandro Valverde battle it out against Contador and Kwiatkowski, amongst others. And that GC battle started on the very first stage, with Contador coming out on top with a very impressive solo victory. The following stages were won by Tony Martin and Wout Powers of Omega Pharma Quick-Step, Michael Matthews of Orica Green Edge, who gave them their second European victory this year, and also Ben Swift, who took an impressive victory on the penultimate stage. Contador sealed overall victory by taking second place on the final day's time trial behind Tony Martin. Contador will now take a short break before beginning his final preparations for this year's Tour de France, where he will of course be looking to give Chris Froome a real run for his money. Meanwhile, up in the Netherlands, the 5-day Energy Vax Ladies Tour finished on Sunday. Kirsten Wild took stages 1 and 2 for the Giant Shimano team, taking her tally of wins up to 7 so far for the season. Meanwhile, Vera Kuaduda of the Belia cycling team took stage 3A, her 2 minute and 22 second advantage being enough to give her the leader's jersey, which she actually held on to through stage 3B, a team time trial which was won by Specialized Lululemon. The leader's jersey changed hands yet again on the penultimate stage 4, with Lucinda Brand of Rabobank taking a solo victory. And she did enough on the final day of the race to claim the overall title, that final stage being won by Chantal Black of the Specialized Lululemon team. And there was another top-level race took place in France last week in the form of the 4-day Circuit de la Sarthe. The first 2 stages ended up in bunch sprints, with Jona Alstrad of Giant Shimano and Nasser Bouhanni taking the victories. The third stage was a time trial which was won by Alex Dowsett of Movistar, which also gave him the overall lead. However, it wasn't something that he held on to for long, with Raimunas Navadauskas of Garmin, one of his closest challengers, taking a stage victory on stage 4, giving him the race lead. He held on to that on the 5th and final stage of the race, which was won by Alex Demont of Agi Désert. A new record was set in the one-day Stelvio race in Belgium last Wednesday, with Marcel Kittel of Giant Shimano becoming the first rider to win the event 3 years in a row. He outclassed a field full of sprinters by some margin. Tyler Farrar of Garmin in second place, and rounding out the podium in third, Danny van Poppel of Trek Factory Racing. Alejandro Petacchi took the win in the Grand Prix Pino Cerami in Belgium on Saturday in a small bunch sprint. His first win for almost 2 years. It gave his team Omega Pharma Quickstep their 20th win of the season, and according to Petacchi himself on Twitter, his 182nd career win. Second place went to Jonas van Genechten of Lotto Belisol, with Daniele Colli of Neri Sottoli in third place. The first rounds of the UCI Mountain Bike Cross Country and Downhill World Cups took place in Pietermaritzburg in South Africa this last weekend. And starting with the men's downhill, it was Aaron Gwyn of Specialized who got back to his winning ways. He qualified fastest and then on race day was fastest at both the intermediate split and the finish line. Meanwhile, in the women's race, Manon Carpenter of Madison Saracen took her first ever World Cup victory. The 21-year-old getting the better of the far more experienced Rachel Atherton of GT Factory Racing. Over in the cross country, and the men's race was won by Julian Absalom, a man who feels like he's been around forever, who added yet another victory for his BMC team. And finally, in the women's event, it was Jolanda Neff who took the win. The under-23 world champion rides for the Live Pro XC team. Well, that just about brings an end to this week's race roundup. We hope you've enjoyed it. Any feedback gratefully received, as long as it's positive, of course. Have you seen this week's news show? If not, click here.